Late at night, I made myself a bowl of healthy, handmade fried noodles with sauce. But when I woke up the next morning, something felt off. However, today is the end of the month. For the sake of my full attendance bonus, I relied on muscle memory and a surge of adrenaline. I went to work as usual. On my way to the boss's office, I saw my Monkagi Gundam at home. I immediately flew over and kissed my dog. But today, the little dog seemed a bit reluctant. Why act shy? It's not like I haven't kissed you before. I took control and gently held his little head. I rubbed his little belly and petted him. But as my hand rested on his belly, I was struck with shock. Gundam, where's your little thing? I had just received some good news. The boss is urgently going to Malaysia on a business trip for 2 weeks. Last time, Liu Ryan went on a business trip to the United States. As her assistant, I naturally thought I would be going too. But to my surprise, that scoundrel furrowed his brows. You don't need to book your flight. The flight to the US is too expensive. Compared to your salary, going there isn't really worth it. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to be treated as anything special, so I didn't need to go to the US this time either. But then that scoundrel smirked. Last time the trip to the US was expensive. This time, the price for Malaysia is more reasonable. It's a much better deal, good value for money. But let's show off a bit of our status. His mouth is really getting more and more insolent. I took a deep breath. I looked the woman up and down in front of me. She seemed serious, even shocked. But the obvious rise and fall of the lace fabric on her chest seemed almost like an invitation, easily making one think of improper things. She seemed even more alluring than before. I raised an eyebrow, smiling, just gold and jade on the outside, nothing more. Who would have thought? This kind of Liu Ryan was all mouth and stubbornness, really. But she wasn't angry. No, not at all. It's only right to show more tolerance for the emotions of patients. Liu Ryan was my girlfriend back in college. I was the one who pursued her. At that time, she looked youthful, but with a maturity and decisiveness that was quite striking. What a contrast, what a clingy one. There was no reason not to make her my girlfriend. I loved holding her waist tightly, resting my head against her chest, perfectly fitting together, feeling her youthful tightness. I liked to deliberately untie her bra strap quickly, then step back, smiling as I observed her. Don't do that. The way the young girl hurriedly covered her neck, her breathing suddenly becoming heavy, her face gradually turning red. I took it all in. Teasing her was my favorite form of wireless charging when I was tired. But when things progressed further, what a contrast. She rarely took the initiative, always asking this and that. When I tried to delay, I took the initiative, but she didn't react at all. Gave me no positive feedback whatsoever. Her abilities weren't enough. Her attitude wasn't enough. After trying once, I decisively broke up with her. I'm a good person. When I broke up, I didn't give a specific reason. After all, it was hard to cure. Sure enough, after putting on clothes, Liu Ryan regained her usual decisiveness. No attempt to hold me back. She quickly agreed, but she insisted on asking me why. There was no intention of clinging to you. But she subtly hinted not to ask. I didn't want to hurt the dignity of some women. She understood and didn't say anything more. Turned and walked away. I thought she understood, but unexpectedly, she seemed quite confident in herself. Without the assistant, Liu Ryan had shifted my thoughts. Half an hour ago, I had just decided to go on a business trip earlier. Today, you might need to work overtime. I immediately caught the key point. Why didn't you say that earlier? Liu Ryan had no expression on her face, but I could still tell from her eyes that there was an uncontainable smile. Now, her mind was fully focused on how to tease me. It had turned into her doing the teasing. If I had known, I would have been a little more restrained with her earlier. As expected, colleagues kept leaving for their shifts, and soon the office was left with just me. Strictly speaking, it should count as two. If The scoundrel sitting in the assistant office was considered a person. Hasn't the whipping task been finished yet? Liu Ryan stood before my desk, her voice soft. As if something had slipped from her grasp, she raised her hand to check her watch. I've calculated the time and workload. By this time, you should be done. Today's quite creative. Slapping the watch, she mocked my work efficiency, deliberately leaving me to work overtime, just to mess with this dead animal. I cast a disdainful glance at her, but she turned her face away, avoiding my gaze. Well, I'll leave you to finish it alone. Shall I drive you home? Since when did you start acting like a green tea girl? Is this ever going to end? How can you be so shameless? I raised my voice and sarcastically replied, how about you come over to my place for tea, then? Go to your place. Liu Ryan's fingers curled up. She awkwardly grasped a handful of something. Fine, but isn't that a little too fast? Gundam's already a big dog now, right? What is she even talking about? Has she been possessed? I stood up in confusion, pressing my hands against Liu Ryan's turned face, forcing her to face me. Could you be a bit gentler? Liu Ryan muttered something softly, but she seemed to be unaware of me standing up and noticing her. Her face now showed some unnatural mockery. Normally, she buttoned her clothes tightly, as if she were afraid of being taken advantage of. But now, inexplicably, she had undone to buttons, just slightly undone. It was quite strange. Should I slap her on the pressure point now? Or what? I was out of experience. I picked up my chopsticks and fiddled with my middle finger. I've seen a saying, can you substitute by doing this? I only found one on the table. Then I flipped through my colleague's desk. What are you looking for? Liu Ryan seemed startled. She came over and pressed down on my hand, her voice frantic, urgent, and soft. Control yourself. This is the office. I don't want to be here anymore. The distance between us suddenly shortened. Liu Ryan's warm breath brushed against my neck. Don't come closer. I was scared and pushed her hand away. I quickly retreated. It felt like I was really caught in something. I babbled nonsense. It serves you right for deliberately making me wait half an hour to notify me, making me work overtime, always bullying me. You deserve it. As I spoke, I suddenly felt a tingling sensation in my heart. Looks like the heavens are still looking out for me. Upon hearing my words, Liu Ryan froze in place. A few seconds passed, and it seemed like she finally figured something out. She looked at me, muttering to herself. What were you doing in the office just now? Scanning me up and down. Her voice grew softer. I could barely hear her now. She kept staring with a mischievous grin. That gaze was so familiar. I thought you wanted. Liu Ryan cleared her throat a few times. She quickly approached and fastened her shirt buttons. Her tone returned to a serious one. It's nothing. I'll leave now. But she left in a hurry, as if something was chasing her from behind, having an issue making me work overtime, messing around with ghosts and spirits ... All for this little thing. I glanced at him a few times. His mind is probably no bigger than my thumbnail. Overtime today. Business trip tomorrow. I packed my things. I walked out of the company gate. No more digging around. I'm taking a taxi home today. The new account message still hasn't come through. This month's payout is a joke. I opened it and quickly glanced at the notes. Overtime pay, taxi fare, other expenses. Reporting a bunch of useless people. Today, I took a special car. I proudly accepted the money. Liu Ryan is really a rare case, growing younger with age. She's already in her 30s. Yet she's still like a petty, grudge-holding elementary schooler. It's been so many years since we broke up, and she still remembers to grab every chance to make me her assistant. Every day, she finds new ways to get back at me, her unfortunate ex. I used to think that as long as she was well-dressed, she was always attractive in some way. Now, I just see that the only thing she's good at is paying quickly. Well, I guess I still fall for it now. I leaned back in the car, prepared to close my eyes and rest. My brows were so tightly furrowed, I could have squashed a fly. I placed 2 fingers on my forehead, ready to take action. Ding, another new message. What now? PTS confirmed it. I propped myself up. I revealed my fierce expression and opened my phone. Oh, it's the handcraft ching I ordered. It's finally here. I've been waiting for so long. They say that fiber can reach all the way to the top of your head. Today, at least something good happened. As soon as I entered the house, I was immediately tackled by a massive figure. I pushed with my knee. It came charging at me again. Steel ball, didn't I teach you not to jump on people? What's going on today? Sure enough, raising a border collie and raising a dog are 2 completely different things. He has his own ideas, but today I surprisingly softened. Just thinking about the 2 weeks I'll be apart from my border collie, it made me feel a little emotional. Tonight, I'll play the role of a kind father. Come here, baby. I sat down on the sofa. I clapped my hands and called him, only on the first day after a bath. Can I go crazy with kisses and playful giggles? He had a bath the day before yesterday. Today, let's mix it up and take it easy for another day. Give daddy a kiss. I gathered up my courage and gave his doggy head a full-on slobber. It really did have a bit of a dog scent. We messed around for quite a while. After the walk, I even played frisbee with him. Eventually, he was so happy he collapsed in exhaustion. He obediently went back to his room to sleep. I quietly watched him walk, his little rear swaying. Dad didn't want to listen to his sister anymore. I pulled back my reluctant gaze. I sent a message to my neighbor Linwan. I asked her to take care of Steel Ball while I'm away for a bit. She has a samoyed. It's either pooping or eating. Whenever she's not home, I also help take care of her dog. Speaking of which, this neighbor girl and her samoyed are quite similar. Both have pale, cool skin and a soft, peachy bottom. Alright, enough. I can't keep thinking like this. If I do, I'll end up reciting the human muscle structure diagram. I'd end up memorizing it all. Everything's set, so next, it's time for me to enjoy some alone time with my Swordmaster Ching. Just to avoid poisoning, I need to strictly follow the cooking procedure. Using the seldom used small knife, I need to sanitize the backside of the chopping board with boiling water after use. I muttered the steps to myself while beginning the process. I sliced it into thin pieces, immediately putting them into the pan when they turned blue. The frog changed color so fast. Then I added oil and stirred on low heat until only oil remained, with no gooey residue, before scooping it out. I stir-fried for a long time. It was almost ready to be taken out of the pan. I picked up the beautiful plate I had prepared earlier, which had been sitting aside. Dudu thought it was my neighbor girl texting me. I quickly grabbed my phone, only to be ambushed by a couple of flowery words. Are you still mad at me? I won't do it again. I shook my shoulders in exasperation, turned off the screen, and the dark screen revealed an elderly face from the subway on my phone. I turned around and began plating the finished dish, not realizing I had forgotten to turn off the stove. The sauce for the Swordmaster's green had started to burn a little. I served the noodles and took a bite. It really did taste great. The texture was crispy, a bit like meat, but even more tender than meat. Coming back to my senses, I had already eaten 2 bowls of noodles with Swordmaster's green. How should I describe that fresh flavor? It was like the average woman having 7 Liu Yifeis in the group. My brain suddenly got tied up by the freshness. It was like drums were banging inside my head. I happily rubbed my stomach, closed my eyes, savoring the lingering deliciousness. But there was this strange bitness. Not the usual tiredness, but a kind of tiredness that made my eyes barely open. My body felt weak too. I quickly washed up, and then collapsed into bed. I didn't see the little one. It shouldn't be poisoning, right? Seems like Swordmaster's green also has a sedative effect. The next morning, I woke up, and I don't even know how I made it back to the office. When I closed my eyes, the next thing I knew, I was sitting at my desk. Today, the company feels strange. My colleagues aren't here. Instead, their seats are overgrown with vines. I don't feel like anything is wrong. I'm just staring blankly at the computer screen in front of me. My head is spinning, so dizzy. Did I not sleep well last night? No assistant has come in yet. The green bubbles bouncing on the screen bring me back to my senses a little. I stagger to my feet. I push open the door to the lazy office. In Gangdon, there's no one in the office. Only my little dog. Gangdon, what are you doing here? At this moment, he's sitting in the spot where the dog usually sits. It's a pity my brain can't think straight right now. After all, colleagues turning into vines. I don't think it's abnormal. I leap toward him. He stands up on both legs to greet me. So tall, I have to lift him into my arms. I rub his little head. Why does he feel taller again? I gently lift his face. I give it a firm rub a few times. Today, Gangdon looks a little unexpected. Also a bit shy. What's with the act? It's not like we haven't kissed before. I directly control his little dog head. I make him look at me. You're not allowed to refuse me. Respond like I taught you. Before he can react, I start the next round of forced affection, kissing his dog head and rubbing his belly. The sweet fruit that's forced is indeed both fragrant and sweet. Wait, I suddenly sense something is off. Today's Gangdon is strangely different. It's as if there's no trace of that little dog smell at all, but he smells so good. Could it be a gift from above? I'm both happy and grateful. I grab the time and continue to work hard. How Haeoin really likes this. Finally, Gangdon starts rubbing his face against mine. It's ticklish and warms me up. Although I can't see his tail, I know it must be lifted high. Wagging so fast it's leaving after images. I love my baby the most. Daddy loves you. Just as I reach out to touch his belly, I ask Gangdon, where's your little thing gone? I double check again. The sky's falling down, and I'm still silently collapsing. Then something even scarier happened. A soft, shy whisper from Liu Ruyan came from above my head. I love you too. I've always loved you. Still like this. Nothing has changed. So cute, but this isn't appropriate in the office. I like it this. It's over, it's over. I'm hearing things. I've worked myself crazy. Can I claim this as a work injury? I didn't have time to think about it. The office in front of me started spinning. With what little strength I had left, I pushed Gangdon away, barely holding on. In a daze, I think I heard him urgently calling. While singing, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Love is really mysterious. Even the dog can open its mouth and talk. But why is he so far from me? I'm his dad. I strain to lift my head. And then I notice. Gangdon's cute little face turned into Liu Ruyan's face. It's still so close. Help! Could I be dreaming? If so, then. I lift my right hand, which is tightly holding onto Liu Ruyan. With all my strength, I slap him hard. This dream isn't bad. Satisfied, I close my eyes. I lose consciousness. In the next second, I am lifted up. Even after all this, I'm still thinking about such things. Liu Ruyan's tone carries a hint of grievance. Don't rush, we'll continue next time. It seems I fell asleep. I had a very long dream. In the dream, I saw things from the past. When we were in love, everyone said our family backgrounds were a perfect match. Some said we were well suited, while others said Liu Ruyan didn't deserve me because he had an older sister, 8 years older than him, who had already established a solid foundation in the group. Liu Ruyan might find it hard to reach the core of the future. But after the breakup, our circumstances changed drastically. The business world was full of changes. My family went bankrupt. It wasn't so dramatic, though. Even though our financial situation worsened, I wasn't forced to hide and work just to pay off debts. But from then on, my world completely changed. It turns out that impermanence is the only constant. I had never been this eager for money before. I worked desperately, taking on internships and making money. Fortunately, after graduation, I got into my dream company. The key was that I got the salary I had hoped for. Work is exhausting, but I encourage myself to look forward. There's nothing that can't be overcome. Then a new leader was transferred to the department. I couldn't avoid it. This old guy is an old acquaintance of my dad. There's some history between them, that kind of falling from grace thing, and I just happened to be under his control. Such a great opportunity. How could he let it slip away? Afterward, he fully demonstrated to me the pleasures of human nature once one holds the power. He isolated me from the rest of the team, ignored me at work, vetoed my ideas, making me take the blame, gave me low marks on the evaluations. There was no way for me to apply for a transfer. Just as I was about to look for another option, Liu Ruyan appeared. He hired me as his assistant with a high salary. The man in front of me had completely shed his former naivety. He was no longer the person I once knew. In these past few years, Liu Ruyan has been thriving. I occasionally hear news about him. He used to keep a low profile, but after we parted ways, it was as if he had become a different person. He no longer hides his ambition and abilities. He quickly rose through the ranks. The doubts others once had about him, both inside and outside the company, he gradually eliminated. Just a few days ago, he was promoted to the director position. So was he planning to come back and mock or get revenge on me? Now I hesitated. Liu Ruyan quickly added, "If you're unhappy with the salary, I can increase it. Did you see the news that I was promoted to director? Now I have the ability and the authority. I also have money and I can throw money at you if I want. I'm now a sister to you." I agreed. I even signed it off with a flourish, making the salary even more attractive. But after joining the company, I discovered that Liu Ruyan's revenge was very different from what I had imagined. All that maturity, stability, calmness, and decisiveness, it was all just a facade. This reunion, Liu Ruyan seemed to have become 720 years younger. I never knew he could be this childish. For example, on paper, I'm his assistant, but besides the assistant duties, I also got involved in the company projects related to my previous job. I was too harsh in taking control of them. The more I thought about it after returning, the more I regretted it. I plan to make full use of the situation. Another example, I'm responsible for watering the plants in his office. One researched it, some plants need water every few days, some once a day, and some only need watering twice a day. He insisted that it wouldn't do. He wanted me to come in at least 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. I told him watering that often would kill the plants. He said, then just water a little each time. I don't know what this obsession of his is. Every time I watered the plants, he would stop whatever he was doing and seriously stare at me. It's like he enjoyed watching cattle and horses plow the field in front of him. And there's more. This happened several times. I'd make coffee and bring it into his office, but he wouldn't drink a single sip. He pretended to ask me to taste it and sit down to rest. He'd specifically emphasize that it was a new batch of some coffee beans he had bought. In every word, he was subtly accusing me, blaming me for wasting his good stuff. I used to love coffee, and honestly, there was nothing wrong with the taste. He was just deliberately looking for trouble. Another time, when I was feeling down, he seized the opportunity to intentionally add fuel to the fire. He had just bought a new SF90 and asked me to be his driver. He didn't even tell me where we were going. He let me drive it casually. Does a sports car still need a driver? I had told him before that this was my dream car. It was bold and flamboyant. Super cool. I knew he didn't like this kind of style, so it was definitely him showing off to me. While being the driver, I cruised around in my old dream car. I did feel a bit better. Looking back on it, After becoming Liu Ruyan's assistant, I actually relaxed a lot. He's annoying, but I felt like he wouldn't really hurt me. All I needed to do was treat him like a somewhat strange, bratty elementary school student. We could just fake smiles, bicker, and roll our eyes at each other every day. No complicated schemes, no deception. Doctor, why hasn't he woken up yet? That voice sounds so familiar. Various sensations slowly returned. I felt dizzy, and my stomach wasn't feeling great. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. A can of something cold. With warm hands. The patient's fine. The walking may be due to weakness and exhaustion. That familiar voice sounded again. No wonder he's an expert. He's in poor health. Like staying up late. Eats irregularly. And now he's eating whatever. And either he doesn't move, or he engages in extreme physical activity. It's so loud, I want to open my eyes and see who's talking behind my back. But within a second, I regretted it. I saw a pea shooter. You're awake at last. Aren't you going back to sleep? Do you know how long you've been unconscious? Why did I suddenly think about eating the archer? You rarely cook. I hope you're not just casually stir-frying something to eat. And then Liu Ruyan inexplicably clapped his hands. You're still working despite being poisoned? Are you trying to be this year's national labor model? Oh, he's clapping for me. I couldn't help but laugh. Liu Ruyan, however, furrowed his brows slightly. Be serious, then softened his tone, like he was a bit scared. Luckily, you're good at choosing places. If you'd passed out somewhere else, I wouldn't know what to do. I wanted to pull my hand out and pat him, to reassure him, but then I realized my hand was tightly held by him, and he had no intention of letting go. What's this about? Are we that close? Alright, Liu Ruyan suddenly stood up. You'll stay in the hospital for a few more days. I've arranged for someone to take care of you. If you feel any discomfort or need anything, speak up immediately. Don't pretend you're fine. After saying that, he bent down and tucked the blanket for me. I asked in return, is this still about the business trip? I've mentioned it before. This matter is urgent, and now it's been delayed for several days. Since I'm already in the hospital, there's no need for you to stay here with me. I really don't understand. Liu Ruyan stopped what he was doing and stared at me seriously through the lens. Is it necessary for you to be this way? It seems like everyone cares more about your health than you do. Who cares about my health anyway? Liu Ruyan left. But my mind still couldn't settle. I hugged the blanket and tossed and turned in bed. Could it be that this dog still likes me? A few more days passed, and today I was finally discharged from the hospital. I heard Liu Ruyan came back this morning. After his plane landed, he went straight back to the company. I couldn't help but think of him again and again these past few days. Like now, I'm absent-minded even when rubbing the dog's head. Steel Egg, do you think he'll come find me tonight? If yes, blink your eyes. If not, don't blink at all. I got the answer I wanted. I was about to play on my phone. 2 hours ago. Liu Ruyan asked about the project progress in the work group. He was so eager to personally bring me the documents. Sigh, it really is true you can't change a dog's nature. As soon as I was discharged, he couldn't wait to go back to his old ways. Didn't he say he would come? I glanced at the messages sent time. It was so slow. It must have crawled over. He still treats me like I'm a junior, rushing in early for work. Plus these few days of my own self-indulgence. I was both angry and annoyed. I was about to open a private message and scold him when the doorbell rang. To boost morale and recover energy, I quickly did a few burpees before opening the door. But when I opened the door, Liu Ruyan didn't say much. He played around for a while, and then immediately went to the kitchen holding a bag in his hand. He came out with a big bowl of porridge. Eat first, your health is always bad. You need to eat on time. Try this fish fillet porridge. During my hospitalization, Aunt Jong cooked all 3 meals. The porridge was especially good. Okay, hey. I took a big bite right away. Didn't you put salt in it? Aunt Jong must have lost her touch today. Liu Ruyan immediately stopped joking. This is made by me. I preserved the original taste of the food. Not bad. Liu Ruyan kept quiet. He smiled, the corner of his lips lifting as he looked at me. After I finished eating, he cleaned the table for me. I looked at him, hesitating about what to say or do next. It had been a long time since we were alone together at my place. I felt a little uncomfortable, but Liu Ruyan's eyes lit up, as if he understood something without me saying it. Don't rush, I know you're eager. He coaxed Steel Egg into the study room. He closed the door, kids can't see this. Then he turned and walked toward me. As for the previous matter, let's continue. Liu Ruyan took my hand and led me to the sofa. He positioned my legs over his, making me sit on his lap. He gently patted my face. Getting closer, his warmth slowly touching my cheek. I felt it on my ear and neck. And then finally, it reached my lips. It was really strange. The sensation was not unfamiliar, but we hadn't done this in a long time. His soft whispering could be heard in my ear. I've wanted this for so long. For such a long time. Last time in the office. I finally confirmed your feelings. What office? Before I could ask, I was interrupted. I have something for you today. Liu Ruyan gently pecked my lips. His eyes sparkled brightly. He took my hand. He led me to a spot and reached in. Feel it, he said. Guess what it is? Do you want me to take it out? 2 black stockings. Weren't you the one who wanted me to try this earlier? After speaking, Liu Ruyan shyly buried his head into my neck. He wouldn't look at me. Memories flooded back. In university, I was shameless, always pestering Liu Ruyan, teasing him, and he always turned his face away. He would firmly reject me. Now that I think about it, could it have been because he was shy? How cute, should I just give in and continue this feeling? My hands slowly wandered upwards. I grabbed his neck. Wait a minute, the reason we broke up back then. Such an important thing, and I forgot. Just now, I had Liu Ruyan's hand. It quickly turned toward me. He gave me a neck lock. But still not enough. I realized I was going to leave. Liu Ruyan tightened his grip on me. You know, I'm a little conservative. Calling someone dad in the office and slapping their face. I can't accept that yet. Give me a second chance. Little by little, okay? What abstract quotes? He was poisoned too. Poisoned in the office. Slapping dad in the office. The keywords were subconsciously forming in my mind. They combined on their own. My chaotic mind finally cleared completely. It turns out this wasn't a dream. In the office, I had treated Liu Ruyan like Steel Egg. I was going wild on him. In the end, I deleted it. He didn't mention it anymore. So awkward, I want to escape. Liu Ruyan pressed me back down. He buried his head into my chest again. He wouldn't let me escape. After a long while, he lifted his head. He sighed. Alright, now it's fine. As for the office, wait until your body is in better shape. Then we'll pick another day to go. Really play it out. I covered his mouth. Manually muted him. Please, just leave first. I've got an appointment. I quickly came up with an excuse to get him to leave. Just then, I heard the sound of the electronic door lock at the entrance. Someone was coming, right on time. The door opened and it was the city's entrance. Muwen came to help me walk the dog. She was wearing a tight-fitting tank top and a coat hanger. She was getting ready to run with the dog. Her skin was cold white, fair like jade. A sunny girl, really grown up now. She had a really good look in her eyes. I totally forgot to tell her I had been discharged. Well, it's fine. I pulled back just in time. I didn't do anything with Liu Ruyan. She's just a friend. Liu Ruyan looked a bit disheveled. When he saw her come in, his face looked like a wolf. But he didn't hide. He insisted on locking our fingers together. I won't do 3. I want to do 1 and 2. I widened my eyes. You're the only one. I gave him a glare. I slapped his hand away. There's a patient here to help me walk the dog. Liu Ryan breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly perked up again. He pulled the collar of the dress he had just voluntarily loosened. He pushed it aside on both sides. He looked like he hated that he couldn't show more. What has he been through in these years? Why does my mind keep thinking of all these random things? I glanced at the burning package with my eyebrows. A steel egg. Mommy, is the dog food you made tasty? Don't call me auntie. This we won't listen to. Dad, can we go out and play later? Avoid that strange aunt who's dressed too revealingly. Liu Ryan stopped and thought for a moment. He spoke again. Honestly, if nothing works, I could be your sister. I also want your dad to call me baby. Liu Ryan recently changed his clothing style. After work, he'd come to my house and change his skirt into women's stockings, especially when he was cooking. He'd tie on an apron. He looked like he didn't care about anything. Even someone as disciplined as me couldn't help but look twice. He still had the nerve to say others were revealing. And steel egg. Can you talk to your dad? He should hurry up and change the door lock password. What's their relationship? They come and go so casually. It's really unsafe. Someone kept using the dog as an excuse to poke at me. I didn't give him the password. He directly recorded his fingerprint. Since that day, this scene has been playing out every day. But I must admit, Liu Ryan has been doing well lately. When I'm at work, he takes care of everything else. Walking the dog, playing with it, and being Steel Egg's dog seller, and my personal kidnapper. The better he gets, the guiltier I feel inside. I can't keep delaying. Today, I must make it clear to him. I walked up to him. The light from him lingered. There were no ill thoughts, only endless sourness inside. I struggled and started to speak again. I've made up my mind. He interrupted me. I know what you're going to say. When I was cooking earlier, I sweated a little. I want to take a shower first. Go ahead. Breaking up should be done with grace. While Liu Ryan was taking a shower, I went next door to feed the dog. Muwen was going out with her boyfriend tonight. She was playing the role of the little light bulb. A dog was left at home. Liu Ryan came out of the shower. I just returned. I turned my back to the bathroom and woke him up. I asked, "Where did you go?" "To the next door." He didn't reply. After a while, I turned around. I felt the heat rising up from my body, right in front of the bathroom door. The warm yellow light fell on Liu Ryan's body. He was only wearing a bath towel. I felt my pupils shake as I rushed over. "What are you doing with this bath towel?" "I gave you a blue one, didn't I?" I spread my hands in anger. Looking at it, this pure white bath towel was most likely from my stack of new towels. It was the one at the bottom. How many of my new towels has he ruined? Liu Ryan's expression was serious. Don't change the subject. Since you've already made up your mind, why did you go see him while I was taking a shower? I had a head full of questions. Yes, I wanted to make it clear to you. Besides the formalities, let's not see each other again. Does this have anything to do with anyone else? The atmosphere froze. Yes, I had originally prepared many things to say, but when I said it, it came out like this. Liu Ryan looked into my eyes, and they gradually became red. Back to square one. But this time, there was no hope at all. He closed his eyes. His voice was sharp and hoarse. When we broke up, you didn't say it clearly. I know what the reason was. I didn't dare to bother you, but I will try my best to climb up. I'll work hard to be worthy of you. I'll never give you a reason to push me away again. Liu Ryan opened his eyes. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. Every day since we separated, I've thought of you. From the moment I buttoned my shirt in the morning, I thought of you. I would deliberately get closer, imagining you would be just like before, leaning over on my chest. With love in your eyes, you would get close and look at me. You'd even mischievously unbutton it. And then you'd look at me, laughing wickedly, so cute, without any barriers. Tears fell from his eyes, one drop at a time. Wipe it away. I took a towel from the stack I had tried for him, and handed it to him. Thank you, he said as he took it. It felt like a farewell. I've pursued you for another half year. A few days ago, you kissed me and hugged me. I thought I was just imagining things, that it was real. But I didn't expect your feelings for him to be so firm. Liu Ryan smiled bitterly at himself. I thought you were still hesitating. So I pushed myself to break through. I tried everything to please you, but in the end, I wasn't even a choice for you to consider. I've disturbed you. At 19, the person I liked was crying and confessing his heart. I can't help but be moved. Actually, there are many things I don't understand. Like the breakup when I wasn't good enough for you. I've been chasing you for half a year, but I already like someone else. I no longer beat around the bush. The reason we broke up was clearly because you weren't good enough. Did you forget? Once I started talking about this, I couldn't stop. I continued to accuse him of not being good enough for 10 minutes. I thought he would be embarrassed. I thought he would get angry or crack under the pressure. But to my surprise, after I finished, he said, "You've had a hard time." I was a little caught off guard. Liu Ryan took my hand. He slowly began to explain. Your health has always been delicate. Too much intensity would make your heart uncomfortable, and everything else. It was me. I was too proud before. Now I know your preferences. I'm willing to try everything. Liu Ryan looked up. His eyes were filled with tears. Let's not miss out on each other anymore, okay? At this moment, his eyes, his cheeks, his nose tip, everything was flushed pink. Such a cute feature, appearing on such a strong body. It was so conflicting, I just wanted to tease him. Fine, I'll give him one more chance to show himself. I raised the corners of my lips, gently wiped his tears away. It's the first time I've seen you cry. Liu Ryan pouted. Do you like seeing me cry? When we just broke up, did I cry every day? Really, what a treasure, what a rare thing. Such a crime, such a sin. The air conditioning at home was strong, but Liu Ryan only wore a thin towel. I didn't know if it was because he was cold or because he felt embarrassed. He hugged himself, weak and helpless, exposing his vulnerability. Cold? I took a step forward. I pushed aside his arm that was blocking his chest, and the first held him. Am I your girlfriend now? Liu Ryan pretended to be reluctant and gave a little tug. Then he softly said, only girlfriends can do this. Don't keep getting so close to that girl from next door. He misunderstood that I liked the neighbor's little sister. I decided not to tell him the truth. I'll tease him a bit first. Alright, I was the one who misunderstood him earlier. How could someone be so fierce while crying? Before I could calm my breath, Liu Ryan hugged me from behind. He pressed close to my ear. Are you satisfied now? I pushed him away. Go walk the dog then. Oh, you go ahead. I'm not going. I pushed him away, then turned and gave him a gentle slap. It's cold and you're not even dressed. Liu Ryan covered his face. He looked both wrong and embarrassed. We were a bit too loud just now. The floor might have heard us. What should we do? I couldn't help but laugh. I couldn't help but laugh. I cupped his face with both hands, slowly leaning in, gently staring at him. Now you know to be reserved. You definitely weren't like that earlier. When our eyes met, Liu Ryan hurriedly lowered his gaze. Stop talking, you're really teasing me. I withdrew my gaze and took my hands back. I turned around, creating some distance. Alright, I'll let you off. Don't worry, she's not here. She went out with her boyfriend. Liu Ryan was a bit stunned. I continued to explain. We just help each other out sometimes. Just ordinary neighbors taking care of the dog. He sighed in relief. Then he leaned back into my neck with a smile. You're so bad, always bullying me. She looked really cute like this. I rubbed her hair, casually asking, earlier you said you chased after me for half a year. It seems like the right moment has come. But when did she ever chase me? This past half year, She's been childish and talkative, although sometimes she acts a bit off. But it doesn't seem to fit with the way things turned out. Yeah, Liu Ryan popped her head out, proudly lifting her chin. She looked like she was waiting for a compliment. Why does she look just like Steel Egg? I specifically asked a friend for advice. He and his boyfriend have been together for nearly 20 years. It seems like the advice he gave me was very useful. They got back together. Lost and found. Liu Ryan closed her eyes and gave me a heartfelt kiss on the forehead. But my eyes slightly narrowed. 20 years? That sounds so strange. Could they have been classmates in elementary school? I didn't notice the change in my expression. Liu Ryan continued, not noticing. Yes, they were sitting next to each other. She added, giving me compliments. Yeah, they were always in the front and back seats. Case solved. Back in school, they were always talkative. After school, they'd buy snacks, saying nice things to coax the boys. This is clearly something elementary school kids would do. I was speechless. Please, can you be normal for once? These past 6 months, I've actually been quite annoyed with you. I only thought about getting back with you after I was poisoned. Liu Ryan furrowed her brows. She began to think seriously. How could this have gone wrong? I moved closer to her. I poked the thinker's temple. Come on, who would like an elementary school kid? The next morning, I was half awake, half asleep. I reached out to the other side of the bed out of habit. I woke up when I realized he was gone. Before going to sleep last night, Liu Ryan had told me that he had something important to leave for, and he said he had a surprise for me. But things seem to be heading in a very strange direction. He's been gone for almost a week. A lot of things happened in the company these past few days. I was reassigned. In addition to my assistant duties, I've also been involved in some previous projects in my field. Now, I've been officially transferred to this department. And more importantly, this department is going to be working long-term with my former company's team. This means leaving the company is not a very graceful move. I'll have to face my old leaders and colleagues again regularly. Such an important matter. Liu Ryan never mentioned a word about it. I couldn't help but feel a chill. All of this was happening just after we had opened up and been honest with each other. It was all connected, one thing leading to the next. This couldn't be a coincidence. I strangely felt like this was a scenario from a popular meme. That's right. Liu Ryan had carried out an evil gardenia flower plot against me. A well-planned, premeditated betrayal. How happy I was that day. Now I feel just as painful. Although I already had the answer in my heart, I still couldn't help but text him. Is this a collaboration? Did you plan all of this from the beginning? He replied decisively. Yes, I had planned it ever since you decided to leave your previous company. I stared blankly at the screen. Should I cry now? After the upheaval a few years ago, I should have gotten used to change. And that includes the changes in people's hearts. It turns out I shouldn't have had any expectations in the first place. But this time, I won't run away. I'm not planning to quit again. I'll face it head on. I'm curious how this well-planned show will be performed. Today was the first meeting with the other team. It seems Liu Ryan returned to the company today as well. Familiar faces entered the meeting room one by one. That old light bulb is here too. I was well prepared. I wasn't disturbed inside. I was ready to go along with it. Suddenly, Liu Ryan appeared from somewhere and blocked my way. What was he trying to do? I stepped back half a step, watching him coldly. What's wrong? Are you nervous? Liu Ryan leaned down and said. He squeezed my shoulder. We are the primary party here. What? I know this is the area you like and are good at, but unfortunately, you've been excluded and treated unfairly. Liu Ryan stood up, changing back to his serious, professional demeanor. He straightened his cuffs. I value this project very much. My requirements are high. So please show me your professional attitude. Strive for perfection. And don't overlook any details. Go ahead, give it your best. Sounds interesting. Who said this surprise wasn't good? This surprise is amazing. It was Saturday, and I woke up unusually early. The morning sunlight was still gentle, spreading softly across the room. The steel ball was lying at my feet. Liu Ryan was sleeping beside me. There was a subtle sense of happiness. As for how to spend this weekend, an idea suddenly popped into my mind. I poked the person still asleep in my arms. His eyes hadn't even opened, but Liu Ryan instinctively pounced and kissed my face. Really, now there are two little dogs at home. Liu Ryan was half asleep and murmured something. I tried to listen closely. Just rest a little more. I'll make you happy. Don't leave me. Is he even good enough? That wasn't what I meant. I woke him up a little more. To celebrate that we're back together, let's go to Yunnan today. How about it? I've planned everything. Our first stop will be this restaurant. We'll have delicious food. I showed him the restaurant I picked. It was very close to the hospital. Let's take it seriously. Liu Ryan obediently nodded. All right. I pushed him. Didn't you just say you miss being in my arms? Why is it the other way around now? You keep rubbing against me. Are you a little dog? Liu Ryan flipped over, suddenly threw off the blanket, and pressed my hand on his body. What are you doing? You said before that when a little dog lays down and shows its belly, it means obedience. And it means I love you. I respond with wild laughter. I love you too.